And yet another trade war casualty, trade in rare earth minerals. Beijing recently restricted exports of 6 heavy rare earth materials, as well as rare earth magnets, to all countries. Rare earth minerals, of which these 6 are refined entirely in China, are essential for everything from defense systems to electric vehicles, and China dominates both extraction and processing. Now, if exports stop completely, the U.S. has no immediate alternative supply. U.S. President Trump has responded with an executive order to assess this critical mineral dependency and its national security implications. Let's get some broader insight into the importance of rare earth minerals. For that, we turn to Einar Tangen. Einar is a senior fellow at the Taihe Institute and a founder of Asia Narratives Substack. Einar, great to see you.
Always, Sean.
Okay, Trump may have initiated the trade war, but with a monopoly on excavating and production of rare earth materials, that is going to be a real game changer for the U.S. and other nations as well.
Yeah, understand, John. China's lead in rare earths processing is not just about the volume. You know, they have 90% of processing, 70% of mining, or just under. And what you have is, for years, they have been going. And this goes back to Deng Xiaoping.
Wow.
He was the one who initially said, his administration said this was important. And they started early on, kind of like EVs. And they have dominated the industry through technology. Their ability with a complete supply chain to produce these things cost efficiently has been in part responsible for the kind of consumer products that everyone uses, from their phones to medical imaging.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about that, because everything that basically turns on and off and everything modern seemingly needs rare earth minerals. So let's talk about some of the real-world examples. You talked about the phone, but look, the U.S. top-of-the-line fighter jets, their electronics, and the auto industry. That stands to lose in a huge way.
Yeah, well, think of rare earths in 3 categories. One is these very important is the magnets. Everything from windmills to cars, things, your your phones and things like that. Then the second part is enhancement. These are things that go to the quality of what you view and things like this. And the last part is how to describe it? It's a catalyst. It's used in not only medical imaging, which is related to the second category, but also for even things like your catalytic converter in your things. But it's essential to everything that goes from consumer products all the way to defense things. There's about 94 pounds of rare earth elements in every F-35 plane. So that gives you a real good idea of just how essential these are. And the fact is that there really isn't another source out there. You can examine it as much as you want, but the realities are what they are.
Which begs the question, do you think that Trump thought this through? Do you think that he thought China would play this card? And really, how dependent is a global economy on these? And let's talk about the potential for supply disruption.
Well, the supply disruption is there. China has said, look, you please start thinking through what you're doing. This is kind of like Donald Trump and medical health care reform. For 18 years, he's criticized Obamacare. When he was asked just prior to the election, they said, what's your idea for changing medical? And he says, he had a framework of concepts. And this is one of his weakest points. He likes to, flash and bang and see what reactions they are, try to look for a deal, but he's not really thinking about the long term. And this is the difference between being a real estate developer and trying to run a country. In terms of, there is no, right now, there are no substitutes for these areas. So, it really is, China's just saying, look, it's time to understand that you cannot, pull yourself away from the global supply chain just because you want to subjugate everybody. It's time to be reasonable. But that is up to Donald Trump.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, China having 70% of these materials, so in dominating the global share, and also the processing, 90%. So where can the U.S. go get more rare earth materials? Now, as I understand it, as the ice shelf melts in Greenland, some rare earth elements are exposed there, which may be one reason Trump is saying this is national security. We have to have it, which I'm not saying is a rational reason. It's just perhaps one of them.
Well, listen, actually, rare earths are not rare. This is the misconception. They're called rare earths because of their their characteristics. The fact is, rare earths exist everywhere. You can have them in Africa, all over the place. A lot of places, a lot of countries are looking at Australia and Brazil. Now, Brazil is part of BRICS. Australia is really in the Eastern Hemisphere, and they're being hammered hard by Donald Trump. So, you know, the U.S. is in a quandary. It keeps fouling its own nest in terms of how it's going to get these absolutely essential elements. But, you know, it's just not the numbers. You know, you said 90 and 70%, 90% of processing. It's the efficiency. I mean, there's at least 10 to 20% more efficient processing in China because of the economies of scale, because of the technology that they've developed over these many, many, many years that Western companies are having great difficulty doing. It's not like the Western companies don't know this is a very, very profitable, essential area. It's just they cannot respond to what China offers. So even if they do it, it's going to mean a higher price tag for everybody who uses them.
That could be the future. Okay, Einar Tangen, my friend, thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it. Great to see you.